I was trying. I was like, oh,
Hold on, let me make sure. Because hold on, before you say anything wretched, ratchet. Let me make sure we're not live.
we are live.
Oh well, shit, it's too late now.
Already trying to expose me to the world.
Yeah.
I was trying.
You know this is going to be saved too, so that's the crazy part.
Okay, well, how do we know people? Oh, never mind. Let me stop and
So this
look.
is so on your Facebook page. What you can do is go to For Black. This is at the bottom. You see it says For Black Power. So
Yeah.
go to their Facebook page, and then or you can just go to their Facebook page and just share it, and then you can tag people.
Okay.
All right. So let me see.
I'm so confused. I'm gonna just stay here. I don't know. You take the lead because I don't know anything about this.
Okay,
What
hold on for a second.
you need me to do? So right now, are you just on this your Safari? You have it open, or are you on Instagram too?
I'm not on Instagram. This is just straight Facebook. Hold on, let me add people and let them know that we're on.
Okay, okay. Let me do that too.
And then we'll allow them some time to trickle in.
Okay, I just sent the link.
Say it again.
I just sent the link to some people. So
Okay.
yeah,
Daggone thing.
I realized I don't know how to use technology. 'Cause I felt like when you were on the phone trying to explain this to me, I felt like, oh my god, that's how I'm trying to explain something to my mother.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you're well versed in live shows and doing all these Zoom activities.
But this isn't really that much different, honestly. Like this is just like when you do one, you kind of done them all. At least that's how I view it. So
Thought like I was on my laptop for the
mhm.
start, and then I was going live. Oh, I could do that too. I didn't think about that. Wow.
That's what I normally do. I'll like if I'm doing my poetry live, then I'll do live on Facebook from my laptop and then go live on Instagram. But the issue with that is you got to kind of bounce back and forth because you know the people that are on Instagram may not be on Facebook, and the people that are on Facebook may not be on Instagram. So, um,
Yeah.
so we got some comment. Peace to the sister Aaron. So remember last time, Sister Aaron was the one that you brought on, and she was only dressed from the top up.
Uh,
So yeah, she said that Sister Aaron, you got some pajamas on today. And is she fully present? I'll only dress for.
I cannot see anything.
What you mean?
Or where are you seeing that she's tuned in?
On the Facebook page.
Oh, okay, you're on Facebook.
This is the Facebook page there. Look at
Okay,
the private chat.
something wrong because I'm only on the StreamYard link.
Go to open up another tab and go to the Facebook page.
Okay.
And also, actually, you know what? Go to the comments. Just click comments because it's on the comment section.
Oh, okay, okay, I see it. Okay.
All right. So we can allow the family. Do you want to just get started, or do you want to wait a couple of more minutes? Yeah, DJ, you're here. This is the right one.
Wait, I think your audio is breaking up.
It is.
At least for me, I'm not sure for other people. I think I'm here. Okay. Cool.
Can you hear me? Well, Okay. They're saying loud and clear. Severin, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Oh,
LOLs.
can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Ready to get started?
Okay, JK, I can't hear you. Let me try because it's like you're breaking in and out. So I don't know if it's me or
Let's
other people.
cancel this. Dima, can we cancel this and just do it again?
It says both of you are. Okay. Hold on. Uh, all right. Hashtag not today. All right. Is it better now?
I can always hear you. You say you can't hear me. And then the guests say they can hear both of us.
Okay. Talib, I can't hear you, but people say that they can hear me. I don't know if they can hear you either. Oh, wait. They said they can hear both of us. Okay. Sure what is happening. Okay, well, welcome, people. Um, I'm not really sure where Talib is, but he'll be back momentarily.
All right. Can you hear me?
Wait, say it again.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm gonna just tough it out. It's okay. You're cutting in and
No,
out.
no, log off. Just log off. Just log off.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Like you're cutting in and out. Let when the system doesn't want us to connect. Wow. Thank you guys for the encouragement. Um, let me try different. He just said log off. Okay. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yep. All right.
And you can see me?
Yep.
Cool. So you want to get started?
Yes. Let me just cue my notes up. I'm on my laptop, so I'm trying to fix it. Okay. Oh, okay. Let me just get a minute. A minute. Hold up. All right. Okay. Tyler, you want to start? Oh, you can't turn off your video because my video's on and you gotta have your video on too. Sir?
Now I got you. I just thought you needed some time.
No, I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's just do it because this technology stuff is annoying.
Okay. So, peace, family. Welcome back to Two Artists and a Mic. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Sev.
All right. And this is a show that we came together based off of me trolling Sev.
Okay. They don't need to know all that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we've been at this because this is a different platform. So for the family that is just tuning in, we've been on IG Live doing this, but we wanted to kind of come together for the For Black Power movement, led by or organized with our Queen sister Dima Mahmood, just to unite the different organizations around the world that are dealing in African liberation, be it Africans of the diaspora, so people of African descent in the United States, or those continental Africans, so the NSARS movement in Sudan, the current situation going on, unfortunately, in the Horn of Africa right now with Ethiopia, and just throughout the diaspora. So we wanted to do something that was kind of tailored toward those movements or join forces with that, and that's what we have here today for the topic. So, Seth, you want to drop down on what the topic is?
Yeah, so today's episode is titled Spiritual Affiliation, the Art of Choice. So, in the title, we'll be talking about religion or whatever spiritual preferences that you abide by. I guess we just want to put a disclaimer before we start. We're not trying to say one religion is better than the other. We just want to have a healthy discussion about the meaning or whatever purpose that religion serves in our life. So yeah, Tyler, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
but yeah, so today we just wanted to be like an open conversation because it's two things that Mama and them told us not to talk about. Those two things are politics and religion, right? And we already done disobeyed Mama and them last week. I mean, 2 weeks ago when we talked about politics. So we figured, might as well throw the entire baby out with the bathwater and talk about religion or spirituality, And I think it'll be good to kind of start with our personal experiences with it and the evolution of it, So for me, I grew up Baptist. My family is from like the South, Louisiana and Virginia. So I grew up in a household that, it was church every Sunday, would go to Bible study on Wednesdays. It wasn't, no pun intended, it wasn't religiously like every Sunday, but we were in church pretty often. And I personally didn't like it as a child because, back then you didn't have cell phones and stuff like that. So you literally have like an old hymn book that you could read through, and you just sit there hoping that they would sing a quote unquote secular song that they can turn gospel, like Tomorrow by Tevin Campbell, or what's the other joint? Maybe one of Kirk Franklin's songs, something like that. But yeah, that was my path. And with Christianity, it was something about it for me that it just didn't resonate with my spirit, and as I began to grow older, I started to be introduced to other religious or spiritual faiths or walks or disciplines, whatever you want to call it. And when I started to ask questions about Christianity, I noticed that I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted, in addition to my spirit not being moved by it. So I started to explore more. And for a little bit, when I went to college, that's when I was introduced to different um, different cultures. Right, that was really my first time being amongst different cultures consistently. When I went to a all black public high school, so I didn't really get that much exposure. So I took a Arabic class, and that was my introduction to Islam. Like I had a lot of classmates who practiced Islam, and I studied it a little bit, but for me, Islam wasn't. It just didn't really resonate with me at that particular point in time in my life. So from there, I said, you know what? I graduated, worked a little bit, and I came across. Interestingly enough, it was this my supervisor at the job I had at that time. He was a Buddhist, a practicing Buddhist. Now I remember in college, I had a friend of mine who practiced Buddhism, and I just didn't know. I just knew it was no attachments. That's how my understanding of it was. So, I read up on that a little bit, and it kind of hit for me a little bit, but it just really didn't like hit and hold like I wanted a spiritual system to do. So from there, um, when I went to law school, that's when like the floodgates opened spiritually, because I was introduced to African spiritual systems. And growing up, and I'm sure Sav, I may defer to you on this part because of the voodoo thing, but
Yo, you
the
don't be saying that like that. This is
well,
live.
nah, I mean,
You're
for the
giving people the
background,
wrong impression.
Sav is Haitian, so that's why I brought it up. But nah, so there's a stereotype when you're growing up that anything that is of continental spiritual systems is like the devil. So anytime that you do, maybe if you venerate your ancestors or you talk about them, or maybe you are doing something with water or talking about spirits, like that's just demonic. You're possessed. That's how it was growing up. So I first heard, well, not first, but when I was reintroduced to voodoo, it was through a documentary series that I watched, Hidden Colors, and it kind of broke down the spiritual systems on the continent and how they were a lot of the major religions of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, how a lot of them have similar traits. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then they started to kind of like lift the skirt up on the truth about Voodoo and Ifa and some of the other traditional spiritual systems. So as I studied it more, I'm like, okay. And then I went to the continent. During this time I was traveling, and I went to the continent and I started asking more questions about it. Started studying it more, and I'm like, okay, this is starting to feel like, for me, it's starting to resonate, because I feel more in control of myself, my destiny, and what I want to do and accomplish. In addition to the fact that sometimes when you listen to stuff or when you are experiencing something, it just hits and holds for you more than other things. So that's what it did for me. And then I found my way to Ifa um, through that learning experience. And I'm like, okay, EFI really is something that is sticking with me, and it's really something that is resonating in my spirit and in my soul. And I'm fortunate enough to be around, and some of the sisters who are on the chat. I want to shout out to Sister Rue. So Ifan Tumisi, you gotta. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. And the sister Aaron, and I'm looking for Sister Latoya. She ain't on, but those are some queens who actually practice uh, Ifa. So being able to build with them and learn more about it and dive more into it. So that's what my trajectory has been, up until this point. So Ifa for me is something that resonates, within my spirit. But what about you, Seth?
I mean, I guess similar in terms of like growing up. Well, since you throw it out there that I was Haitian, I am Haitian, but my family was very much Catholic growing up, um, and so was I. I had communion and everything. Um, I never really took it seriously. Again, like I didn't really feel like that much connection. I think growing up, I had a lot of questions for God. Um, and like I didn't feel like they were being answered, or like when I asked, it was just like, you have to have faith, and I was just stubborn and I didn't really believe that. So right now I'm in the space where I am exploring. spirituality and like trying to find different things that work. Um, but I think because I'm Haitian, then there's a rich culture in voodoo. So I started asking more questions. Like my family's pretty much open. Um, Even though they're Catholic, we don't really see voodoo as demonic. It's just a different spiritual practice. And I remember growing up, like my mom would tell me, like, don't be scared. Like, you know, they're people. Like, they're not gonna eat you. Or like, I don't remember them telling me like demonic stories. So when I came here, a lot of people, I'd be like, I'm Asian. They're like, oh my God, you do voodoo. I'm like, no, I don't. But it's not like that. And but people have all these perceptions, and you know, now growing up, and I try to ask more questions, like to my grandma, because she grew up in a different time. But she is Catholic, but they're very much open and willing to like answer questions or like if I have anything or if I'm wondering. So I do want to tell people like it's not like we're not going to eat you or anything like, and don't ask Haitian people that when you meet them. Um, so I think for me it's just trying to find, I guess, meaning or higher purpose. So I think that's what I'm looking for religion or spiritual practices to give to me, but I haven't found it yet.
Yeah. It reminds me of a quote that Malcolm X said about it. Somebody asked him when he was, I think he was traveling. He was in on the African continent. I believe he was in Egypt, and someone asked him about uh, what about religion and how you have different religions, and him practicing being a practicing Muslim. And I think at that time he converted over to Sunni, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what he was before he was assassinated. But he said something really profound. He said, "Religion serves as guideposts for those who need it." You know, because he was one that always would say, you need to, when we're organizing as a people, that shouldn't be the dividing faction amongst us. You know, if you are whatever you're practicing, you know, you keep that in the closet, and that's what you do at home. But as it relates to what we need to accomplish with regards to the liberation movement and in advancement of what we're talking about today, um, you know, that's that would divide us more than actually unite us together. But I always was fond of Haiti and just their history with the spiritual system, because the Haitian Revolution, you know, was derived from them taking on their traditional African spiritual systems and getting revolution from that. But then you have, at the same token, you have what happened with regards to Nat Turner. Nat Turner was a Christian, and he used the Bible as a revolutionary means to be able to advance liberation for his people. And I'm glad, even though I clowned him earlier, I'm glad Yafet's on, because Yafet, if I'm not mistaken, brother, you're a Coptic, right? A Coptic Christian. And for those who may not know, it's a different Christianity than what's practiced here. At least from like I would say from the Southern Baptist type of practice of Christianity. And if he's open to it, I want him to come on and talk a little bit more about that, because that's another thing, being able to stick with the Pan African, bringing things together. Because a lot of the brothers and sisters that may practice Christianity here may not know anything about Coptic Christians and the origins of Christianity in the Horn of Africa and Ethiopia and some of those things. So, but yeah, like this, the history going back to how, you know, religion or spirituality was used to be able to advance a movement. I mean, we've seen it in Islam as well, where I think it was the Zouj rebellion, if I'm not mistaken. That was Africans who were enslaved in the East. So this would be Kenya, Tanzania, and they were taken to Arabia and taken to Asia. They overthrew their slave owners, you know. And I believe, I might be mistaken, but I believe their spiritual system was Islam. So being able to like just connect and see, like, you can still use it as a revolutionary means no matter what it is that you practice.
Okay, I'm gonna peep at the comments real quick. I think
Okay.
there's some comments in there for you. Okay. Yafet, we want to hear. We want to hear about. They're calling for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is he camera shy?
Is oh wait, can we? Oh, what we need to, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post a link, excuse me, to the page, so you all can, if you want to chime in on it, then you can. Where is it at? Let's just do this. All right, so I posted the link in the actual on the For Black Power page. So if you want to come in to talk about, if you have any type of comments or any type of testimony, if you would, to come in to talk about this particular topic, then come on in. And then also I thought I saw a Hadi in here. Yeah, a Hadi from DC. Well, I don't know if he's still on, but Rastafarianism is something else that I would like to touch on. And Ahadi practices that. So, but while you all decide who wants to talk first, and Sister Aaron, you can hop in as well. But Sid, why do you think religion is so divisive? It done broke up families. You know what I'm saying? Like if I know I had a aunt who practiced. She was a practicing Jehovah's Witness, and
Oh wow.
we would never see her, you know, during any of the holidays, anything like that. Um, you know, it was certain things she didn't participate in. She really just was distant from the family, you know.
Um, I don't know. It's a funny story. So, my grandma's Catholic, and most of her family's Catholic, and then my mom decided to be Protestant. So that was like a whole scandal.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that technically it's just a different sect,
Mm-hmm.
but my grandma's like, no, she has to have a communion. Like that's a Catholic practice. So I was raised. I never knew the difference, but it was a big deal to some people.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in college, somebody gave me some crystals, and I used to like carry them around. Like I was so obsessed with them. And I went home, and then my aunt saw it, and she was like, "What is this? Let me pray for you." So I got my stones taken away, and like I had a prayer circle. They're like, "We could just heal you. Why do you need the stones for?" I was like, "Oh wait, hi, oh Hadi's on too."
Stop. Okay. Go finish your story,
Yeah,
then we can bring them on.
I was
Y'all
like, "Wait a
hopping
minute,
out the blue. Hadi, turn your camera on, man. He probably
no
went.
pressure."
Hey, I'm outside.
But now we're gonna bring y'all on in a minute. We want Seb to finish the story, and then we'll.
Oh no, I was just killing time so you guys felt more comfortable. I was trying to get you guys warmed up.
Well, I was interested in the Protestant story and how your grandma was about to bust your head open for those crystals.
No, my grandma doesn't care. My aunt, thought they were demonic, but
Oh, auntie.
it's okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess you guys can just hop on and let us know
Yeah. So
your
we'll
personal journey.
right. So let's start with Sister Aaron. I know you're gonna drop some big some huge
Oh
bombs. So we're
yeah.
gonna hold off on you for a second. We're gonna bring in the brother Hadi because it looks like he's about to go pitch black in a minute. So bro, introduce yourself, what you about, and what your spiritual affiliation is, and what your journey was like.
All right, all right. My name is Ahadi Teray. Um, I was born in Kenya, raised in DC. I came over here when I was about 9 years old, so I'm in DC right now. Um, my name is it means to make much promise in Swahili. My mom is Kenyan, my dad is Jamaican, so it's kind of weird, right? It's a funny connection. So as I grew up, my mom was Christian, like diehard, and and so would I. I went to church also. Had some questions myself. Really didn't get an answer to it, and I had a temper when I was young. So if someone couldn't answer something for me, I just thought that it was just bogus. That was just my mindset. But I couldn't say that because of my age and where I was at. So as I got older, probably around like 12 or 13, I had to go back to Kenya to do the rites of passage.
Mm.
We had to go, and it was a group of us, that we had to go out on a journey for 3 weeks. It was like five young men, well, five boys that came back to being young men. I still speak to them brothers, so that was a good transition. Um, but right now, my spiritual affiliation is Rastafarian, and that comes from my dad.
Mm.
Um, I didn't know too much about it at first until I started doing my own research because he told me he wouldn't tell me anything about it, um, except for that reggae music was the music to the soul. That's the only thing that he would say. And I didn't understand it at first, but as I got older, I understood it a little bit more because uh, that's like one of the few genres that talk about empowerment. They talk about the struggle. Um, you don't have to use they don't use cuss words, and it's a difference between roots reggae and dancehall. So a lot of people get it confused. Um, no sexual perversion or anything like that, but Rastafarian has been the guide of my life for like the last 15 years.
Mm.
We focus on just being optimistic about everything, seeing the good in everything, living in the moment, eating clean, always helping the brother or sister, in need. Um, Not materialistic, So you guys, if you ever meet me, you'll know that um, I live by these values. Like these things are instilled in me, um, not just of the fact that I love reggae music or I love the spread of Rastafarianism that originated in Jamaica. Um, it's a way of life. We don't call it a religion because it's not something that's structured. It's not a place that we have to go. It's not something that we worship. We do um, give
Not
praise to the Most High. We do recognize Haile Selassie as the Emperor, the King of all kings, and we do have the Lion of Judah flag as our representation. Um, but yeah, I mean, other than that, you know, it guides me in so many different ways. I meditate probably about 4 times a day. I pray about 5 times a day. And it's not I have to get on my knees or anything like that. It could be a simple prayer, um, standing up, talking, whatever it may be. Anything that I want to come in effect, So, um, but other than that, man, it's something that I think that everyone, um, would benefit. And I'm not saying in a way like converting, but more so like just saying that the African connection that it has. Um, and yeah, man, like, oh, and another thing is you don't have to grow locks to be a Rastafarian, but it is a key part of our energy that we spread, the light that we spread, um, and also just eating clean. We try our best to be vegan, but based off the demographics and based off where you live, we know that sometimes it could be a struggle, because you still got to be alive, you still got to eat. Um, but yeah, other than that, man, like it's a way of life. And no, you don't have to smoke ganja as like it's not required. A lot of people like, oh, you smoke weed and then you just you listen to reggae. No, that's not entirely true. When you do see Rastas speak about um, ganja, it's more of a spiritual sit down. You get in a circle with other Rastas or other brothers and sisters, and you exchange or you talk about problems or solutions that you want to see um, come into existence. Because at the end of the day, when you do smoke the ganja, it's supposed to expand or give you answers to any questions that you can't seek at the moment.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, man, that's Rastafarian in a glance, you know. But yeah, that's all I got for you.
So, I got a question for you. Follow up with Rastafarianism. What's the difference between Rastafarianism and Christianity or Catholicism?
You was breaking up the whole time, Tyler. One more time.
What's the difference between Rastafarianism and Christianity?
It's doing it again. I'm sorry, bro.
Can somebody
I just
say,
hear like I hear like an echo, like a static.
can you hear me now? You still can't? Can anybody hear me on the phone?
I can.
Okay. Can you repeat the question to him, please?
What's the difference between Rastafarianism and Christianity?
So it might be mine because they doing the same. It's doing the same thing.
Read.
What's the difference between? Oh, okay, all right, there we go. I see the question right there. What's the difference between Rastafarianism and Christianity? Um, the difference is the biggest difference is so when we think about the Bible itself, some of the figures are different. Like we read the King James version because we feel as though that's the original version um, of the Bible, and when it comes to because it's Christian based, so it is Christian based. But with the figures, some of the prophets that we look up to is slightly different. So again, we don't have like a standard base such as a church. You know, we use gatherings and celebrations as that's our church right there.
Okay. So does anyone else have any questions about Rastafarianism that's tuned in that we can ask the brother? No one? All right. Well, we appreciate you, bro. Will you still stick around in the comments at least, just in case somebody has questions or to drop some more knowledge on your spiritual journey?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay here. I'm here. I'm gonna leave this stream, y'all, but I'm gonna be here so I can hear better.
Okay, but all right.
All right.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
No problem, brother.
Okay. So that's Rastafarianism, and it's interesting because that he pointed out the fact of ganja and locks, because those are the ones that like seem to be affiliated with Rastafarianism. But the fact that he mentioned that he meditates, he prays 5 times a day. It's a very peaceful religion. That's one thing I have noticed in my travels and just being amongst Rastas is that it's that peacefulness that is pervasive throughout their community and throughout their culture.
So, Tyler, we want to know, why'd you get locks, or did you explore Rastafari?
Nah, Rasta. So I always thought that Rastafarianism was like an offshoot of Christianity. So I never really was. I don't. And Rastafarianism never really pulled to me, to be honest. Like even when I was going through my transition, I didn't really. It just didn't resonate with me, and I didn't. I did not explore it honestly. So that's really the reason. So I grew locks though because at the time I wanted to look like a particular rap group.
Tell us
And
the group.
mute your mic, brother. Mute your mic. Why did y'all let him on? But so back in that time. So, but eventually it grew into my the way I live. So it's like a way of life for me now.
I get it.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to the queen that's sitting in the back like a Shun right now. And we're going to bring in Sister Erin. Sister Erin, how are you?
I'm fine. Peace, family. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
All right. I'm fine. Tyler, it's funny. I didn't even know you had family from Louisiana. I'm from Louisiana too.
Oh yeah. Mine is from Delhi, Louisiana.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, mine just are mostly in
Okay,
New Orleans, and Baton Rouge.
Louisiana.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that said, with me being from the South, instead of it being me growing up Baptist, I grew up Catholic. And I mean like deep, deep Catholic. Catholic school, communion, confirmation, all of that stuff. But the interesting part is, and Sister Seb, you might find this to be interesting, is where I'm from in Louisiana, we practice the Vodun heavy. But we use Catholicism to mask it so that, it won't necessarily upset the racial divide, because you had some African Americans in southern Louisiana, where I'm from, who were very deeply Christian and were offended by the introduction of African practice into that religion or school of thought. And then you had, other Africans who primarily focused on the Vodun, but then, utilized Catholicism as a political means of survival, pretty much. So that's what my background is. And we were on the Catholic side, but on the back end, I watched both of my grandmothers actually practice the Vodun. But I personally practice Ifa, and I was introduced to Ifa maybe 7 years ago. And it's so interesting because throughout my entire life, I believe I've had dealings with Orisha without knowing they were Orisha. I was taught to call them saints. And it's so interesting because my spiritual mother, God rest her soul, Mother Taylor, had a similar upbringing, but then she became Orisha Baptist. So it's funny because the saints that I was taught to pray to are the Orishas who walk very closely with me right now in my life, as I am conscious enough of them to be able to acknowledge them for who they are. But my walk with Ifa was a very eye-opening and soul-soothing moment. And I knew that Ifa was the spiritual practice for me when I walked into my spiritual mother's house for the first time and felt like I was absolutely at home. So Catholicism was just a means to an end for me. It was never something that spoke to my soul. Whereas I was more comfortable with going to the and we called it the voodoo lady's house and talking to her. And I didn't know, even though I didn't know what was going on, I just felt comfortable in that space, even though the Vodun is not what I eventually, as an adult, began to practice. It was Ifa. But Ifa as a spiritual practice is one based on absolutely good character, clean character. And that's those are principles that I stand on absolutely in my own life. So my spiritual family is located in Ibadan, Nigeria. And, the draw and appeal for me, aside from my conscious support, is the premise of good character. I mean, everything in the African traditional religion or the spirituality or school of thought, or however you want to receive it and refer to it as, everything about Ifa revolves around good character. And that is something that deeply resonates with me. And that is something that I try to embody every day of my life. And I have my elect gaze to remind me when I want to get out of pocket of who I am and who I represent. So that's pretty much the spiel on Ifa coming from me, brother.
So when you said elekes, can you describe to the family who or what they are and how they
So
manifest?
um our eleges are physical representation of Orisha energy that is presented to us in ceremony and serves as protection. So I said this in the last call that you had. I was in Afghanistan for the last 5 years, and I wore my elekes daily to serve as protection against all of the energy that was surrounding me there. And it also serves as a reminder for whose you are. So I walk with very specific Orisha, and the spiritual house that I came out of has a partnership with very specific Orisha. But the Orisha who I have, and these aren't, and please don't think that these elekes are necklaces that you can buy, even though people sell them on like Etsy and Amazon and other things. We're presented with these. So these are all ceremonies that I had to go through to receive the energy of these respective Orisha. But this is protection, and this is a reminder of who I'm walking with and why I embody the spirit that I embody.
Sure. How do you um, how do you respond to those who know that you are practicing an African spiritual system, but they have a negative view or connotation of that particular system?
I respond to them with patience because I was that person before. And I understand how ignorance works. You know, you only know as much as you have experienced. You only know as much as you were taught until you are open enough to receive something else. So I remember when I was Catholic, and I remember when I was so indoctrinated in Catholicism that I didn't believe that there was anything else, even though I saw other things with my own eyes, even though I felt comfortable with other things with my own spirit. I definitely believe in exercising a necessary patience unless it's just totally offensive to me physically as a person. But not everybody is ready, nor is everybody prepared to receive spirit as you are, regardless of your affiliation with spirit. So I'm just, I practice a level of patience with people like that.
That's sure. That's sure. Sev, do you have any questions, or does any? Oh, she bounced out. Does anyone have any questions to
I have a question.
on IFA? Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to know if how does one is interested in knowing more, but and say you're in a place, um, as far as where it's Bible Belt, below the Bible Belt, as they would say, where you don't get a chance to, how can you say, have much community of sort, or know where to find that community at to know more. How do you find that, or be able to get in tune into the spirituality part to surround yourself around the proper people to understand more and further?
Well, brother, that's a really good question. And I will say that technology is going to be your best friend on that front. But I would also say to trust your intuition and use discernment, but to seek it out through prayer, firstly, so that your spirit can guide you. One of the first things that I was taught on my spiritual path was to always allow spirit to lead the way. Now, as far as the technology piece is concerned, there's so many different avenues and different groups that represent Ifa, but you have me here. You're always welcome to reach out to me, and I can put you in touch with my Babalawo. But you can always search in your area to see if there are any groups first and foremost. But I would absolutely caution you to pray on it before you make contact with people, and follow your spirit before you make contact with people. Um, but if you are interested, you can absolutely reach out to me. I'll put my information in the chat if you would like. And if I can assist you in any way, I'll definitely help you find a group of reputable Babalawos and people whose spirits are genuine on this path to help you along your journey if that's what you're seeking.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I definitely would love the connection. I mean, I guess it'll kind of go into myself. My brother here, he's actually was one to introduce me into understanding, a little bit of understanding, a little bit of knowledge when it comes to the practices. I mean, for me, I grew up Christian, AME, all of that, and it just never, kind of like I said, it kind of never, with everybody else, kind of never really set right. So then as I got older, for me, I started to learn more and trust my intuition. It was to learn more that uh, all the different religions and everything, all were coming and deriving from other places. So I took the turn of like taking a little bit from each thing to kind of form my own spirituality, so that I will still serve a higher being, but then also like I would, because like in Christianity they don't teach you meditation, they teach you prayer, but then also it's more so based on like the praise and worship. So taking the praise and worship from Christianity, going on the Buddha side and taking the meditation, and then on the Islamic side, the prayer. So looking at all these different things is how I started to kind of really line and form. So reading the Quran, reading the Bible, opening myself up. That's why. So I'm like 7 right now. I'm kind of open. So really trying to find that way, find that spirituality, the spiritual side that really guides me and those that are under me, as far as family wise and stuff like that. So it's been a journey in itself. T will tell you it's been a journey. I have been uh, searching, but then also listening and staying true to myself throughout the process and not letting anything kind of like really go. So T has taught me a lot of different things when it comes to different practices, but then also still giving me my leadway to find myself. And as I'm finding myself and finding my voice and finding more knowledge, it has opened myself and my eyes to seeing things that is of the continent for sure. As I had no clue coming from the background that I come from, of anything of the continent, uh, even all the way up to entering law school. So that's kind of where I am right now. So I'm learning, I'm building, and it's coming for sure.
Let me see.
Shay.
For Sister Ifa, um, I guess more pull toward your spiritual practice now. It was, I guess, since you identify as a Black woman, like, did you feel that practice was more appealing, or it spoke more than Christianity did, or in any sense? I don't know sense.
I could barely hear you because you were going in and out, but I'll rephrase it for you from what I did hear. Are you asking if my current spiritual practice appeals to me as a Black woman more so than Christianity does?
I'm having tech issues, but let me tap it and I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Chat. Oh my God.
While she does that, one thing to note about and Sister Toya and I'll say this. So the Queen, Sister Aaron, Sister Toya, and Sister Rue, who are all in the chat. One of the things that I really appreciate, and I've always said this about you all, is the fact that you all sisterhood is so strong, and the way that you were able to come into your spiritual systems together and be able to fraternize together to build is something that is to be heralded. And I was just talking to Sister Latoya the other day about that, and I spoke about DJ, who's on now, because I was telling her that he and I, even though he just said that it's some things that I've enlightened him about, like we're growing together in it, you know. So just as open as he is with it, I know that Ifa is calling me, but we're still studying together too to build that. And I think that's important. Whatever spiritual system that you practice, be it Islam, Christianity, or Ifa, or the traditional systems, to have that support system, like you said, to be able to lean on and to grow together, because that experience is extremely different, and it's more vast in knowledge and in fulfillment than if you were to go about it alone.
Thank you, Brother Talib. I appreciate that, definitely. And coming from me, just as Ifa Kimi, it was actually Sister Fatumi Shay. That's how you say her name. Sister Fatumi Shay was my introduction to Ifa through Mother Taylor. And it's so funny because when your spirit is ready, your spirit is ready. All you have to do is be obedient to what your intuition is telling you. And I met Sister Fatumi Shay at an event, and the sister was glowing. And me being who I am, I had to say something. I'm not gonna let no sister be sitting up there shining and glowing and not acknowledge it. So I did, and we became fast friends, now to family. And from me just being obedient to my spirit, from me just embracing my sister for who she is, I actually found myself walking through the doors of Mother Taylor and starting my spiritual journey from that point on. And it's so funny because with Ifa, at least for me, and I know this to be true for the tradition, as a tradition, we rely heavily on communion as far as a sense of community between the brothers and sisters, the Iyanifas, the Babalawos. And it's important because a lot of our history is oral history, even though we have an Odu. We have festivals that correlate to very communal things that happen. That have happened throughout history, Nigerian history, that is, Yoruba history. that is. So it makes perfect sense for the sisters and I to have such a strong bond and such a strong sisterhood, because that is exactly what our spiritual path entails. And there are some times when, things are happening in our lives and we would, speak to our Babalawo, our Oluwo, and the prescription for us would be to have a gathering so that we can feed people and have a community with people, a sense of community with people, and in turn heal ourselves, heal our wounds, heal the traumas of the generations that have come before us, because our spirits really want us to get together as a people and unite as a people. So community is a very important part of what we celebrate in E5. And Sister Sev, I don't know if you put the comment in the chat so that I can read it, but to address the to address how Ifa embraces femininity, if that's where you were going, I would say almost that the foundation of Ifa is feminine energy and embracing the divine feminine. A lot of our spiritual energy, well, people, I would say, associate a lot with Oshun and her energy, but a lot of people don't know Oshun is a warrior goddess, a warrior spirit, a warrior Orisha. So is Yemen Jas, definitely Oya. But a lot of people don't know about Oba. A lot of people don't know about the Iyami. There's so much strong, feminine, divine, spiritual presence within our practice, and it's upheld. And that's a thing that definitely appeals to me as a Black woman. Whereas in Christianity, because in my personal experience, because of how it's celebrated in a house, church house, I would say that it has been polluted by the ideals of certain types of people, particularly a masculine presence. And that's something that did not sit well with me in my Christian Catholic experience. But, as with all things, the divine feminine power cannot be ignored for too long without there being some lack of balance. So for me, Ifa definitely presents that balance you have to have, and you have to protect, and you have to respect and acknowledge the divine feminine if you want anything to work efficiently in your life. So going back to Ifa representing good character, it is of good character to acknowledge the divine in anything anyway. So it's impossible for you to not acknowledge the divine feminine in the spiritual practice of Ifa.
Sure.
Thank you. I don't know if you can hear me, but thank you. You answered the question for me.
We can hear you now, sir.
Okay.
I can hear yes.
Okay. So, does anyone else have any other questions or comments for Sister Aaron as it relates to Ifa, or even the brother DJ? Because if not, then we'll bring Sister Mia on to speak on whatever is on her heart. And also those that because we touched on Ifa, we touched on Rastafarianism. We haven't had anybody talk about Christianity that practices Christianity or Islam. And I know we got some strong followers of Islam
So
from this.
To the Streamland to a couple of our followers. So she's just in to listen, because I didn't know how else to explain it. So Sister Mia is listening, unless she have things to say.
I saw her pop up on the screen, so I didn't know. But there she goes. But yeah,
I got a quick question.
Okay, who's speaking? Introduce yourself.
Hey, this is Meron from Virginia.
Okay.
How you guys all doing?
Yeah, peace. How are you?
Doing okay. Actually, for Sister Ifa, I just wanted to ask you, and I was well aware of the feminine. The feminine energy is missing and within the soul, quote unquote Abrahamic religions, so to speak. I think of it as putting us through a bastardization of Christianity in the States, which pretty much, it took away the feminine, so to speak. What period would you say? I mean, do you think the feminine side was taken out of the spirituality and everything, or was it really more so during the Arab slave trades or the transatlantic slave trade? Do you think that was pretty much the poignant period of when that aspect was stripped away?
Personally, I believe that as far as divine feminine energy is concerned, in my spiritual practice, it goes as far back as the Orisha being the Irumole here on earth, Orisha being human form on earth before they were made Orisha. There's an Odu that speaks about Oshun transitioning herself into bird in flight because she was not taken seriously as a divine feminine, and because she was the youngest Orisha at the time, and because the other Irumale or the other Orisha were disobedient to Olodumare, who is who we refer to as God. Oshun was then made the chief priestess of the Iyami, which is the Council of Wise Women, and that predates humanity as we know it right now. So I think it's just the nature of control, and wherever you have, especially in human nature, the nature of control, I think you will have the nature of the reality of not acknowledging the divine feminine for what it is. I think it's just the nature of being. And whenever you have a being present, you have that balance or that lack of balance. And the choice to acknowledge is definitely a choice. It's not something that you're forced to do. And naturally, you have one entity that may want to be in control. But as far as my spiritual practice is concerned, and I hope this is answering your question, since the beginning of the practice itself, there was always a struggle for that balance. And sometimes Olodumare had to come down with a strong hand to remind all of creation that we were all created to serve equally. It's not supposed to be a matter of masculine or feminine control. It's not control, it's equal work together.
Thank you so much.
You're
There's
welcome.
oh, sorry about that. There's a couple of books that also may be able to highlight some historical markers in that. There are two that stand out that were written by Walter Williams, and both of them are the historical origins of. That's how they start. And then one is Christianity, and the other one is Islam. But speaking of Islam, one of the things that, or not one of the things, one of the people who have organized this, Sister Dima, she's tuned in, she's listening. For you all who came on early, she was on, and then she dipped out. But because I know she's listening, Sister Deem, I want you to turn back on. There it is. There she is. There she is. Okay. So, I mean, it's obvious that one of the things that we have not talked about in depth is Islam. We know some of us are introduced to Islam by way of the Nation of Islam, what we see here. But we know that there's a traditional, or I guess an Orthodox Islam that is practiced by a lot of our brothers and sisters, not only in the United States, but also throughout the diaspora and on the continent. So I would love for you to give us either historical breakdown of it, or what has it done for you, and how has it kept you continuing on your journey and on your path?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings, family. I'm just here absorbing the knowledge and making room for more questions, and to be open to learn and come here and ask the questions like DJ did earlier. I will make one correction to how you said Orthodox Islam. The Islam we see being practiced today predominantly is institutionalized. Islam is Arabized. Islam is, as far as I'm personally concerned, bastardized. Islam, the very essence of Islam, has been violated through the Arabization of the religion. It's now becoming more of a culture than it is a religion. And so we can go into the history of it, we can go into why, but it ultimately goes down to ego and the struggle for power. So when you were talking about Malcolm X and how we went from Nation of Islam to Sunni and bringing in this Sunni dimension, and you go back and ask, okay, well, what's Sunni and what's Shia? And I didn't even know what a Shia was until so much further in my life. And I didn't, the first time I was asked that question, what do you mean? Oh, wait, are you, well, yeah, okay, you're Muslim, but are you Sunni or Shia? I was like, how do you, I'm Muslim. Like, what do you mean? Are you Sunni? And then he's like, no, but and they don't know how to frame it in the way without saying, because one of them is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But you see it, and then you try throwing it back at them. It's like, wait, which one was the prophet? Peace be upon him. And the overwhelming majority will tell you, and this discussion is mostly perpetuated or started by Sunni, unfortunately, Sunni Muslims who have been misinformed and have missed the first verse that was given to the Prophet, peace be upon him. And that first verse was read. The first order was read, seek knowledge. Now, the Prophet didn't read, peace be upon him. He was an illiterate man. And so when the angel descended and said, read, he said, but I don't know how to read. So read and seek knowledge. That part has been taken out of today's practiced Islam, because if you ask questions, there is a solid chance that you end up in prison. There are so many people in the Muslim world that are in prison because they ask questions. Well, how come this is happening? Well, how come that's not adding up? And that's the very essence of Islam, seeking knowledge, asking questions. That's how he got the message delivered, by going out there and asking questions. He secluded himself in a mountain at the top, away from people, and wandered with the universe and asked for guidance. And for that to be taken out, and then you ask these people, are asking you, are you Sunni or Muslim? Which one was the Prophet? Be like, Sunni, of course. Now, some background here. There was no Sunni or Shia when Islam was delivered as a message to the Prophet. This came out after the death of the Prophet as part of the decision of who was to lead the Muslims. Is it going to be the Prophet's friend or right hand, the elder of the community who led battles with the Prophet, or is it going to be the Prophet's cousin, like by blood? And so the Shias would go with the blood, and the Sunnis would, or the vote was for the friends, and that's where the divide came. It was about power. It was about leadership. It wasn't about the religion. And there's so much more out of this religion that's just taken out of context. And as part of the effort to make a discontinuity, like to disassociate us from one another. Islam has always been as far as we understand it, a completion of the messages before. You cannot be a true Muslim without believing in Jesus. You cannot be a true Muslim without believing in Moses. You simply cannot. You cannot be a true Muslim and believe that any human is beneath you. And still you see the mass oppression that is happening to our African brothers and sisters who are working in the Gulf. We saw the treatment of the Ethiopian and the Eritrean refugees. I personally got into a car with a Ghanaian brother in the UAE. And it was like, what do you miss most about home? And that's something I ask every person of African ancestry, wherever I meet them. And he said, the food. I was like, oh, you don't cook? He's like, no, I can cook, but I'm not allowed. You mean you're not allowed to cook in your own house? And then they say, Islam, that same country will pay $11 million to decorate a Christmas tree when you have all these refugees, these Muslim refugees around you, and you want to sit here and call yourself a Muslim. It's practice. Islam is practice. someone up here said, I think it was a Hadi, said Rastafarian is a way of life. It's not a religion. As far as I'm concerned, Islam is a way of life. It's not just the rules, the yeses and nos. It's a timeless religion. It means it's something that it's a way we live wherever and whenever we are. So I'm here to answer any questions as far as my experience. I am not a scholar in any way in the religion. My father is an imam, and this shocks a lot of people because to them it baffles their minds how my father is an imam and how I'm walking around without, without covering my hair and whatever else that's stereotypical about the religion. So I'll stop here, but I'll answer any questions if anyone has.
Beautiful. And that was a excellent breakdown, because a lot of people, and this is what Sev and I were talking about as we were coming up with this topic, because we wanted to address this in a way that it would not be divisive, but it would be extremely educational and informative. And right here on my screen, you have on my right side a sister who practices a traditional West African spiritual system in Ifa. And then on my left side, you have a sister who practices Islam. But the commonality between the two is just the ability to be within peace, the ability to understand that there's a larger and overarching mission and goal, and to be able to have fulfillment within yourself and spread that throughout those of whom you interact and engage with. Not combative, not divisive. No one that has come on here has said anything about, I hate this particular this particular religion, this particular spiritual system, or anything. It was always inquisitive, and it was always informative. And I just give thanks for that. And with regards to Islam, one of the things that comes up in Islam that I would love for you to expound on is the notion of the oppression of women in the religion or in the way of life. Can you please touch on that and speak on that from the background of your father being the imam, and then also by you practicing the or I say just the way that in which you move?
Yes. How Islam honors women in every single way, in every single verse that you can read in the Word of God. I'm not talking about the practice of people who follow the religion. I mean, according to the Word of God. When they say that the heavens are under the feet of the mother, when a woman is given right, that the Word of God is giving her right to inheritance, to ownership, to land. And yes, some people will say, oh, but it's unfair because they give the man twice as much than they do the woman. Sure. But it is because in this faith, the man is the provider. He is providing for an entire family. When a woman walks into a family, what she comes in with is hers. The husband is not allowed to touch it. He is meant to give her allowance, which is separate than what she already has. So what she gets from her family, what she gets through her inheritance is hers. It's not something to be shared. But what the male does, then that's something that needs to be shared for his family, for his children, for his sisters, for his mother. He's the provider in that sense. So many things that are misunderstood about the religion, and I can sit here and go over and over and over again, but it all goes down to how it's being misinterpreted. So the issue of the veil, for example, there is not a single verse in the Quran that says, according to the Word of God, that I should cover my hair. That verse does not exist anywhere in the Quran. Woman, cover your hair is not there. And it's not out of a lack of ability. God, it would have been very easy for God to say, women, cover your hair. Came up with all these verses. He won't be able to come up with this one. This specific order? No. And there is something there to it. It says, pull the veil over your bosoms. And that goes with the context. And yes, there is a need for modesty. But everything is there. There's an entire verse in the Quran that is dedicated to women. It is called the chapter of the woman. It's there. How we look at it, the things that you know that it says, oh, the Quran, it says you can beat the woman up in the Quran. Read into the words and the context of it. You cannot beat her in a way that harms her. And when they say beat, it's like, it's almost like, don't do that again. Like, you know, it cannot be something that inflicts pain on the woman. You know, these things, that the different ways that we have been honored, that men have been ordered to provide for us in certain ways, and that's just being taken. For example, the marrying more than one woman. Oh, but you know, it's promoting what's the word? I'm drawing a complete blank from the exhaustion. That you're allowed to marry 4 women. Sure, you're allowed to marry 4 women. It says you're allowed to marry 4 women. But it also said, if you cannot treat them identically, down to the emotion, to the love you will pour in each of these women, then don't marry the 4 and stick to one. But they will choose one bit and leave the other way out. There are so many examples in this religion of how women are honored and how women are respected and given their rights. It's just taken out of context to fit an agenda, and it's all to fit power, again, to massage egos. And it's by default also as far as human beings. When they say Islam is a racist religion, when the order came to abolish slavery, and that was part of the movement in growing the religion, you know? Rich people converted, their money was used to free slaves. And now we see this treatment, and then somehow it's still fitting as it's just so many, so many questions. How that feeds into me, how that feeds into how we move, it's all about coming together. That first order was seek knowledge. I am asked, I am ordered, it is my duty and responsibility to seek knowledge, and I have to seek it from everyone, from everywhere. It is a reminder that any challenge we face, specifically now as people of African ancestry and within the context of the global Black Lives Movement, we really need to look at Islam really helps me look at these challenges as a pause, as God telling me, you're not taking full advantage of every single blessing I gave you. I took time to create you. I took time to bless you with things, and you are not using every one of them. Stop. Find them, list them, animate them. And it's the same way that I think, okay, this is it. This is what we're doing here with this movement. Yes, we have challenges. They're not problems, as Rais was saying earlier. And if you missed that live this morning, the kickoff for the Global Black Lives, for the Global Day of Action for Black Power, it is on the Facebook page for Black Power. Watch that live and share it, because more people need to hear that. We don't have problems, we have challenges. And our challenge now is that we don't recognize that we are not using all the blessings we have, because we are blessed and we are truly everything.
Sure, sure. Does anyone have any questions for the sister while we have her on before she goes back into an abyss of darkness on her screen? Sister Aaron, it looked like you were about to say.
No, I didn't have anything. I was just laughing at what you said, but I definitely appreciate you for what you share with us, sis.
So we can, any comments there?
No, I'm just sitting. I feel like a lot of the questions I had about Islam. I feel like you touched on it, especially as a woman. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Queen, for blessing us with that. Family, if you have any, does anyone have any comments or questions or want to come on to talk about whether it be your journey or how you may be feeling about a particular religion or spiritual system? Because if not, we're going to close out. But this was a beautiful, beautiful conversation. Great choice, Seth.
Great. I believe this. I believe, yeah, you're funny today.
Yeah, great choice, Seth. But this is something that we want to really continue to do, because this what this does is it helps to build camaraderie. It helps to build the brotherhood. It helps to build the sisterhood, the familyhood of us as an African people, and then being able to tear down the barriers and tear down the walls of differences, because I can fully love my sister Queen, who whatever aspect of religion or spiritual system that she practices, and still fight together to make sure that we are liberated or advancing liberation movement of our people. And adopting and having that mentality and ideology will dissipate majority of our issues or challenges in which we face, because we already are being staunchly moved upon by outside forces. So we don't need the inside chatter and the inside explosion to happen that will continue to disintegrate us. But being united and coming together under whatever spiritual system that you practice is important. Please.
Could I add something here? And that's something that touches on what was said earlier in the conversation about how spirituality is tabooed, and how it is cornered and painted and boxed into a certain faux pas, that we don't touch this. As religious people, we don't go there from within the context of Islam, because that is something that comes up quite a bit. Even though it's in the Quran, it says when you are, and I'm not quoting here, but when we are in battle, when we are fighting for the truth, when we are fighting for what we're here in this world to do, and even if we are not as much, not as powerful as who we are fighting, powers, forces, invisible forces will descend and join our ranks in this fight. It says it in the Quran. It's happened before. It was said that this is how certain battles were won. And how am I going to sit now in any religion class in the Arab world that they teach, and take in someone who says that all spirits are evil, and that if you're speaking or seeing spirits, then you're doing magic, and that you're going to burn in hell. And that goes something along the lines of also the Goddess Fest 2020 that happened in I believe that was in September, possibly October. Everything is just coming together in dates here. And I was invited to speak, and it made me pause there. And my partner Alexandra was from Africa Week 2020, was asking, what comes to mind when you hear Goddess rising? And the first thing that came to mind is old Muslim men cringing, because you blaspheme. Yeah, how are you saying Goddess? Because for them they're thinking in one thing, in one frame, but if we believe that Adam was the first man, and God breathed into Adam and gave life, and I am from Adam, do I not have a little bit of that breath in me? by default. How are you divorcing the two, but then saying to believe this miracle? There are a lot of inconsistencies, so we need to ask these questions. And it is not a coincidence specifically with Islam, and this is why I always go back to the first order: read, ask more questions. And that's one of the hashtags for the For Black Power movement, is because that's how we connect the dots. That's how we corner people who are telling us lies, because eventually and ultimately they will trip and they will forget that they lied about something because they're trying to keep their eye on something else. Ask more questions, and thank you so much for having this platform, for holding this conversation, and yes, please, more of them.
Blessings.
Olive, you write a poem for us today?
I did.
Oh, nope.
Nah, I did. So as we continue to grow this platform and continue to build our show and things of the kind, it becomes a bit arduous but it's fun to be able to write on topics that are like this, But at the same time, as an artist, you can pull a small bit of something from a conversation that ordinarily you would think it doesn't have any relevance, or what are you talking about? But when you look at the crux of what was talked about and you put it into a piece, it's like, wow, you might be onto something. So this particular poem I'm gonna recite for you is called The Farm. All right. So my grandfather is teaching me how to farm today, and I'm proud. I'm proud because many don't have this opportunity to be field hands while receiving seeds of wisdom to sow within fertile ground. Found, my mind is fertile ground for seeds to grow, and for those seeds I stow inside my pockets are heavy, but heavy from carrying the seeds of success. Grandpa told me no need to stress, because with knowledge in my latter years I may rest peacefully. We spoke on patience. Granddad said patience is like growing dandelion greens. If you're not careful, you'll mistake them for weeds, choking you to death, and from life you bleed, understanding not the nourishment that it bestows, unnecessary mistakes causing unnecessary woes. In rows they grow, these dandelion greens, and complementary plants placed in between. Grandpa talked about courage and being true to you. He said courage is like a savory vegetable stew. Use onions in soil that are rooted deep within, never willing to break, and when appropriate, then. Garlic is like passion, a spice that gives some anger. Use just enough, too much surrounds you in danger. Carrots provide the clarity to see things unseen. If your third eye is blind, you can't decipher what life means. Tomatoes are the base, foundation on which you stand. The ancestors are around you. Reach out to their open hands. The herbs are the garnish and adds a nice touch. Pride and ego has its place, but should never be too much. Courage makes the weak strong, the proud humble, the distressed calm. But with patience, courage beautifully shines. And like Grandpa says, the harvest just takes a little time.
All right. Clap for Tyler.
Yeah, appreciate you. So, yeah, I thank you all, beautiful queen. And then the one thing I want to emphasize that we see on this chat right now, 1, 2, 3. Let's look at the comment section. 4, 5, 6. 6 women. 6 women. This isn't dominated by men. This isn't, a situation wherein we're wondering where the sisters are at. One of the things I always cherish is to be able to build with my sisters, and the ability for the sisters to be dropping knowledge like you all are, just goes back to the balance of everything, And I'm so fortunate to have a sister as my co-host, So I give thanks for everybody that tuned in. Again, catch us on Sundays, 2 artists and a mic. And again, this is for Black Power. So this is a global movement in which we're doing every day. Commit to advancing the liberation for your people in some capacity. You don't have to be you are an activist by nature. And an activist isn't someone that's just only in the streets burning down buildings or, chanting Black Power. An activist is somebody who uses their craft to be able to enhance the lifestyle of somebody else. So if you are a teacher and you're bestowing knowledge upon students, you're an activist. If you are if you're a preacher and using that particular platform to advance knowledge and help to build up your community and build up your people, then you're an activist. So whatever aspect in which you fall in, you're contributing something toward the advancement of our people. So just keep that in mind. And then also make sure that you hashtag any events that you're doing that helps to advance the community for Black Power. Demon, before we close out, Seb closes out, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Sure, if the computer works. Visit forblackpower.org. There's a tab there that says join our village, because it takes a village. It takes a village to do what we're doing. And it takes a village to remind ourselves that we're not in this alone. Go in there, join the village, put your information, tell us what you're working on so we can connect. It's as easy. And if you're looking for someone working in something specific, if you go to people and put in the keywords, these people will pop up. Also, if you are holding an event anytime, not just in November and not just for, this is just the first day, the first global day of action for Black Power in our time. It's the first of many. And as far as we're concerned, every hour is for Black Power. So go to that website, any event that you know of, that you're hosting, if you're going on a live on Instagram, go on that calendar and put it in there and put where people can find you. This is a global interactive calendar. All you need to do is put what you're doing in there and it'll pop up, and then our people anywhere in the world can go to that website and see, okay, what's happening today that I can learn about. Let's connect and let's keep building. Thank you so much.
Yes, for having us. Thank you guys for tuning in, and
Thank you.
we hope you come back next Sunday.
Yes, Black Power, and we're out.